precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Danushka Madhavala and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines. President ceremonially opens the third session of the 9th Parliament today. President begins discussions with political parties on forming an all-party government. Media Minister says media organizations should act responsibly and inform the people the truth. The Cabinet has approved the draft of the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. Circular directing government offices to remain closed on Fridays cancelled. The President has urged public to get vaccinated as the COVID-19 is spreading rapidly across the country. Rains claim 3 lives, 4 individuals missing. In foreign news, Pelosi makes first statement during Taiwan visit. Local news in detail. The ceremonial opening of the third session of the 9th Parliament will be held this morning. According to the Department of Communication of the Parliament, President Ranil Wickremesinghe has given directives to commence the new parliamentary session without a guard of honour, salutes and ceremonial horses. The presidential flag will not be hoisted at the event. The second session of the 9th Parliament was prorogued through an extraordinary Gazette notification issued by the President on the 28th of July 2022 in accordance with the powers vested in him by the Constitution. Meanwhile, Secretary-General of the Parliament, Ambika Dasanayake, has called on all MPs in writing to attend the third session of the 9th Parliament. Upon entering the chamber, President Wickremesinghe will preside over the ceremonial sitting of the new parliamentary session. Thereafter, the General Secretary of Parliament will read out the proclamation proroguing the Parliament and summoning the meeting of the House. Afterwards, President Wickremesinghe is scheduled to deliver the government's policy statement. According to the order paper of the House, the Parliament will be adjourned until 1 p.m. on the 9th of August. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said the religious leaders led by the Mahasanghas, civil organizations, youth groups and the entire people have strong confidence and expectation about an all-party government. The head of the state mentioned this in the discussion held yesterday with the political parties regarding the establishment of an all-party government. The President's media division said 3 rounds of discussions with the main political parties regarding the formation of an all-party government were held at the President's office under the chairmanship of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Minister of Mass Media, Transport and Highways, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said media organizations should act responsibly so that the economic pressure in the people does not turn into hatred. Meeting with the heads of electronic and print media organizations at the Ministry of Mass Media yesterday, Minister Gunawardena said the media also have a responsibility towards the society, just as the executive, the legislature and the judiciary. The minister said all parties should reach an all-party consensus to pay off the debt and move the country forward. The minister said that there is no intention to sell the Lake House Institute, as the payment of salaries in the state media organizations is a problem and a management system should be made for it. He further said that the behavior of the media should not harm the country, as well as the politicians who form the governments and politicians of other political parties. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news. Continuing with more stories here at home. Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms Dr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa said the Cabinet approved the draft of the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. Accordingly, the amendment will be tabled in Parliament soon. He said several democratic and progressive clauses from the 19th and 20th Amendments to the Constitutions are included in the 22nd Amendment. The 19th Amendment to the Constitution, he said, gave the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition the authority to appoint 3 members of Parliament to the Constitutional Council. However, the new amendment, the Speaker will oversee such appointments and the 3 MPs will represent the main ruling party, the main opposition party and minor parties in Parliament. The Cabinet of Ministers has given its approval to cancel the circular declaring Fridays as holidays for public sector employees. Accordingly, the Public Administration Circular number 15/2022 dated June 15, 2022 will be revoked with immediate effect as public transport services are now returning to normalcy, the government said in a statement. 3 persons have died and 4 have disappeared due to the adverse weather conditions prevailing in the country yesterday. Deaths and disappearances were reported from Nuwara district. 1,776 families, 7,649 individuals in Jaffna, Nuwara, Kandy, Gaul and Ratnapura districts were affected by incidents of flood, cutting failure, tree fallen, lightning, high wind, rocks fall and heavy rains. According to the Disaster Management Centre's daily report, 3,049 persons have been moved to safe locations. Disaster Management Centre Deputy Director Pradeep Kodipulli stated that Kotmale, Ambagamu, Nuwara, Ratnapura, Jaffna, Gaul, Talavakale and Kandy areas were drastically affected by the adverse weather conditions. Kodipulli also said that 8 people in the Navalapiti area who were trapped due to the floods were rescued. That's local news for the moment.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe, making a special statement yesterday, requested the people to resort to vaccination as soon as possible as the risk of COVID is increasing again. The President said Ministry of Health has issued health guidelines paying special attention to the situation and requested the people to follow the instructions properly, emphasizing that the spread of COVID epidemic in the country should not be allowed again. Health authorities have urged people to exercise the highest level of vigilance since the latest Omicron subvariant of COVID-19, BA.5, is spreading rapidly across the country. The total number of COVID-19 cases increased to 665,739 by yesterday.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On Watchlight, the Department for Registration of Persons has taken steps to issue birth certificates while including a Sri Lanka identification number for newborn babies. Commissioner General Vianney Gunathilaka said the birth certificates are issued in a combined process by Department for Registration of Persons and the Registrar General's Department. He said the pilot program was launched at Kampha Dahiwala, Hangrankata, Kurunagala, Ratnapura and Tamankadua Divisional Secretariats. That's on Watchlight. Moving on to world news. Headlines: Pelosi makes first statement during Taiwan visit. First grain ship out of Ukraine reaches Turkish waters. Russia accuses US of direct role in Ukraine war. World news in detail. U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said her visit to Taiwan in no way contradicts Washington's long-standing policy on the self-governed island after touching down in Taipei on Tuesday, despite stark warnings from China. She said that their congressional delegation's visit to Taiwan honors America's unwavering commitment to supporting Taiwan's vibrant democracy. The U.S. officials said her discussions with Taiwan's leaders would focus on reaffirming our support for our partner and on promoting shared interests, including advancing a free and open Indo-Pacific region. China's foreign ministry has summoned the U.S. ambassador to protest about the visit, saying Beijing will not stand idly by. Earlier, China condemned the trip as a serious violation that will have a severe impact on China-US relations. China's army will hold military exercises near Taiwan from Thursday until Sunday, its state media says. But the US says there is no need to turn the visit into a crisis, with Pentagon spokesman John Kirby emphasizing America supports the status quo. Beijing sees self-ruled Taiwan as a breakaway province that will eventually be part of the country. The first grain ship to depart Ukraine since Russia invaded has arrived at Turkey's Bosphorus Strait. The Razoni, which is carrying 26,000 tons of corn, will be inspected on Wednesday morning before continuing its journey to Lebanon. Russia has been blockading Ukraine's ports since it invaded in February, intensifying global food shortages. Under the terms of a deal brokered by Turkey and the UN last month, both sides have agreed shipments can resume. Ukraine said its naval vessels will guide cargo ships through waters which are being mined. Finally, on world news, Russia has accused the US of direct involvement in the war in Ukraine for the first time. The spokesperson for Moscow's defense ministry alleged the US was approving targets for American-made HIMARS artillery used by Kiev's forces. Lieutenant General Igor Konashenkov said intercepted calls between Ukrainian officials revealed the link. In the meantime, Russia previously accused Washington of fighting a proxy war in Ukraine. A spokesperson for the Pentagon said it provided the Ukrainians with detailed time-sensitive information to help them understand the threats they face and defend their country against Russian aggression. That's on World News. Moving on to development news. Chairman of Sri Lanka Ports Authority, Dr. Prasant Jayamana, said the construction of the East Container Terminal at the Colombo port are being carried out successfully despite the current economic crunch. He was speaking at the 43rd anniversary of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority. At a time most of the infrastructure projects are compelled to cease construction work, we have been able to carry out all our project works with no hindrance at all. We have initiated all steps to purchase essential machinery and equipments for the East Container Terminal, he said. Dr. Prasanta Jayamana said that the SLPA was a public institution that had a mission to fulfill a national requirement of nourishing the economy, and therefore all its employees were also part of a national task force. That came to you on Development News.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
And on sports news, baseball Ollie Robinson has been recalled to the England squad for the first two tests against South Africa. The 28-year-old has not played a test since the final match of the Ashes series in January. Robinson comes in for fellow seamer Jamie Overton, who has been ruled out with a hand and foot injury sustained playing for Surrey. The first test in the three-match series begins at Lord's on Wednesday, the 17th of August. The only other change from the squad that pulled off a remarkable win against India in July is the omission of wicketkeeper Sam Billings, with Ben Foakes fit to return behind the stumps. That's on Sports News.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Airbnb said travel demand remains strong despite concerns about economic slowdown and rising prices hitting households. Nearly 104 million nights and experience were booked on the platform in the April-June period, a record high for the lodging website. Long-term stays continue to be the fastest growing type of travel, a shift driven by the rise of remote work. But international and city travel, which had lagged, have also recovered. That's on Business News.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Watch Life is brought to you by
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
The Department for Registration of Persons is taking steps to issue birth certificates while including a Sri Lanka identification number for newborn babies. Commissioner General Viyani Gunatilaka said the birth certificates are issued in a combined process by Department for Registration of Persons and the Registrar General's Department. He said the pilot program was launched at Gampa, Tehivela, Hangarankata, Kurunegala, Ratnapura and Tamankadu Divisional Secretariats.
A strength to your life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
And on economic news, the Wildlife and Forest Resources Conservation Ministry will increase the facilities to local and foreign tourists who visit the Ruhunu National Sanctuary. Minister Mahinda Amaravira observed the construction work of the resting place, which is being built by the Wildlife Department in the sanctuary. The minister instructed the officials to resume constructions. The minister instructed officials to maintain the resting place as a green land. That's on economic news. Moving on to the weather update. Showery and windy conditions are expected to continue in the western and southern areas in the southwest quarter of the island due to active southwest monsoon. Showers or thunder showers will occur at times in western, Sabaragamu, central and northwestern provinces and in Galle and Matara districts. Heavy rainfalls about 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in Sabaragamu province and in Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Matara districts. Several spells of showers may occur in northern and north central provinces. That's the weather update. Before we conclude this bulletin of news, back to the headlines. President ceremonially opens the third session of the 9th Parliament today. President begins discussions with political parties on forming an all-party government. Media Minister says media organizations should act responsibly and inform the people of the truth. The Cabinet has approved the draft of the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. Circular directing government offices to remain closed on Fridays cancelled. The President has urged public to get vaccinated as the COVID-19 is spreading rapidly across the country. Rains claim 3 lives, 4 individuals missing. In foreign, Pelosi makes first statement during Taiwan visit. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news. You're listening to Radio Sri Lanka.